All right guys, let's go through lunges. So there is many variations of lunges out there. We're going to stick to the simple, what I think are the best ones, which is going to be static lunges without any jumping around or sort of lateral stuff going on. So first thing to consider with lunges obviously is our foot position and what we're trying to achieve. If you have a very shallow stance, meaning your back foot is pretty close to your front foot, so I recommend holding on, so I'll give you a couple of angles here. We're going to be very quad dominant here because the amount of flexion in the knee is going to be bigger than if we had a deeper stance and came down like that, which is more glute dominant. And so there's no right or wrong. Some people having a very deep stance may feel through the hip a little bit too much. Conversely, myself, having a very narrow stance, I find it hits my knee joint too much, and so I'll go to the deeper one, make it more glute dominant. Works well for me because it fits in with the rest of my leg training, which is mainly quad dominant, leg press, hack squat, etc. So having something that gets a bit more glute in there works well for me. As you saw, holding on, very, very important. We don't want to be, sort of falling all over the place. And so in terms of what the rest of the body should be doing, or at least what our legs, feet and head should be doing, is we want everything in a straight line. So I'll show you on this angle here, more or less we're going to have a pretty linear path. So back foot, back knee, front foot, front knee, reasonably straight line of each other, as opposed to that being out there or that being particularly wide. And we're just coming down like that, and again trying to keep that knee from wobbling. So you may find some people fall in a little bit where the glutes are meant to stabilise. It's not quite switching on, or it's not quite strong enough. And so just making sure that we're coming down and the load always goes through the heel on the front foot. And so if we look at this, so we've got our same stance as showed you, and I'm going to make sure my front heel is planted. What I do with some clients who struggle to fall onto their toes too much is I actually make them have their heel planted and toes slightly up just a little bit, just to give them that feeling through the front heel. And so back knee and front knee almost want to bend in unison, and so coming down and then coming up like that. So you get told on, coming down. Now watch what happens if I don't bend my front knee much. Sorry, my back knee. We end up with that limited range of motion. If I drop my back knee too early, you shouldn't see it. So actually try to do it like that. We don't get the same flexion through the knee or the hip. And so what we really want, sorry to keep giving you different angles, make sure that you can actually see both legs. So I've got my body weight slightly tilted forward at the hip, so I can load that front heel, and I'm coming down, and that's a pretty good position. Weights through the heel, back knee's bent, obviously front knee, hips bent, everything's straight line. I'm not in or out, I'm on the heel, and I stay over as I come up. So a common thing that people do when they're tired, if you watch the next rep, is they push back up on their back foot. So as we're coming down, they're going to do that. So we really want to avoid that mistake. And so in terms of which stance is for you, again, same as every other movement that we do where there's an option to have different positions for your foot placement, like a leg press or a squat, whichever feels comfortable. Obviously doesn't cause you pain in joints, so you can progress on it. And also that allows you to move the most weight. And so again, for me, that narrow stance is quad dominant. I would say that yes, although it has more torque on the knee and therefore it's more quad dominant, in virtue of me having a deeper stance, which I feel more comfortable with, I'll be able to move more weight, whether it's on my back, whether it's with kettlebells, whatever it is. And I think that's going to make up for any tension that I lose by not having a more quad dominant stance, if that makes sense. And so in terms of your progression, I like a rep range. It's a very versatile movement, of course. somewhere between 10 and 12 reps. And so I'll go 10 on the right, 10 on the left. You might go something in good form like that. You can change legs if you like. I just think we keep everything stable and we just get as much load to the glute and quad as possible. Face same way, swap legs, and then your progression can be either holding a kettlebell or a dumbbell. You can be holding a safety squat bar on your back, which is my preferred one. It's got a handle there, you can still hold on. Whereas if you're on a barbell, of course, for the most part, unless you're really coordinated, you're going to have to be having your hands on the bar. So lunges are fantastic throwing towards the end of the session as well. They just fit in really nicely. What we might call some metabolic work. So we've done our leg press, hack squat, seated hanging curls. We want something that might get into that metabolic pathway of hypertrophy to the extent that it exists. So something that's essentially a higher rep and it's going to give you a pump, basically, in layman's terms. And of course, we can't always be going heavy. And so we've got heavy on all the other movements. We want to keep training legs. This fits in well. Again, it's joint friendly if you do it properly. In my experience as a trainer, a lot of people who have problems with lunges prior coming to me and they say, I can't do lunges on my knee. They're always falling onto their toe. And so that's often a function of having to do walking lunges. So if you think about how hard it is to actually do a lunge well, and then you see that a lot of people are just thrown into walking lunges as part of group training, it's quite sad to see. So let's get the form good. Let's make sure we look after our joints. And again, the name of the game is direct the load/weight to the target muscles. Good form. Progress in weight or reps, preferably weight in time. But again, being at the end of the session, you'll find your ability to be able to keep building weight up is not going to be as won't be as conducive to building weight as, say, the first or second movement. So just keep that in mind, but progression should also be floating around that mind as well. So I hope that helps.